And that ankle thing went away. Patriot Act. That's what we had him, the Patriot Act. We can make everybody give them a national security level from Bush, and nobody can say nothing. That's right, nobody can say nothing. We can secretly tell them the plan, and they say, listen, if we can find out the plan. Actually, we just get a contract that says once you know the plan, you don't go along with the plan. We send you to a nice desert island for life. Or at least until we're ready to let you out. Oh, no, wait a minute. I'll just give you a national security letter.
Crazy fucking idiot over here.
I don't judge in the middle. I'm not the judge.
You're not
jury
the judge?
or
Why
executioner.
Not? Well,
only God can judge, and if there's no God who's judging.
True that. Anyways, they had no record of anything that you bought or anything like that. Did you go and buy it?
I just did it.
When?
That's why it's so insane for them to not have a record right now.
And you were dressed like this?
Yes, of course. And you told him that?
And I told him he's probably wild and crazy and probably had a speaker and a GoPro on.
And I had Tina.
And there was a girl named Tina.
Is that you?
That was me beeping.
Okay. Because I'm not sure how my phone beeps. Hey! Oh, never mind. Good. Actually, ring this phone again. Can you ring me here?
An 882 or 881 number?
Yeah, that one. Because the way I usually have it is to my speakers, so the way I know I got a phone call is that sound goes out, which works on my iPhone too. With that, that new speaker I got, did I show you? The Amazon Basics, $45?
No, you told me you got it, or you ordered it.
No, and it's in and it's great. Hi, Bill.
Hi, Bill.
How are you doing?
Oh, fine, how are you?
You pulled a knife on me yesterday.
That's very not.
That's very.
You could barely hear that.
Yep.
No wonder I can't hear my phone. These phones are terrible.
He's deaf and retarded.
Okay, I wouldn't say that about people. Anyway.
Well, I would when he pulls a fucking knife on me.
Okay, so I don't want to get in the middle of it. Okay, but you have the receipt.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
now
no,
the other thing I
like-
have for you, wait a minute, it's important. Okay.
It's important. Oh, God.
Other than showing you the speaker, which is cool. I've got...
I have to go to work and get my paycheck and shit.
I've got a Wi-Fi access point. It's a router with 4 router jacks. So basically, it's an airport, and it might even have a drive like a time machine. You know what I'm saying? It's an old. It's like it's a 2010 version of a full-on access point, not the little expresses.
But is it from
Apple?
It's an Apple.
It's an Apple, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go ride my bike now that I have the receipt over to my limo.
But see, I use that. See, right now I use that UB, which is a great access point, and then the Airport Express I got for that because I just didn't want to. Anyway, I appreciate it. Okay, don't call me on that freaking bad phone. Call me on my iPhone.
Okay.
When you get back.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was ready to call you about. Is because anyway, I'm gonna go upstairs and clean things out possibly, and I might be away.
Is this table for your boat?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's gonna fit on your boat.
We'll make it fit.
Oh God. How big is this table that you've ordered?
No, it's only this big.
Okay, I walked in there and I saw some big old heavy tables. I'm like,
no, it's a heavy table. It's heavy, but it's big, and it's big. But it goes tall. That's what I like about it. It rolls up to like 30 inches, 36 inches, whatever it is. So you can, I'm going to use my director's chairs. I already have a director chair. I have that other chair. I could buy a high chairs, and then I get a better view by sitting up. Okay, call me on the iPhone. Okay, so while we're just going like this, if we were doing this right, first thing is, you wouldn't be bouncing on my belly. But when I did GoPros on my head, now maybe I was ahead of my time, so to speak, ahead of my time. In 2011, you guys got a little freaky when a guy was walking around town with a GoPro on his head. But the head is much more stable, because I think the rest of the body is like less close to the waist, and the waist is like juggling and jiggling around, especially when you have a big belly. And so that's important to know. But the other thing is you should have him in stabilization. It should solve all these problems. Hello, how you guys doing?
Hey, how are you today?
Fabulous. Oh, always. So, it's so simple. You put the freaking camera in. You're gonna have to do it. You were going there anyway. You see where you are now. But I went there faster. But anyway, that's another story. But that is the story. It's all part of one big story. But anyway, so you put it on your head. You're doing it 3D. And then you stream into a cloud. And if everybody's streaming to the cloud, all of a sudden we have a freaking streaming reality. And we have streaming buildings. When you call it now the Internet of Things. But like streaming things. But they're all internet connected. And they don't require human intervention. Because they're smarter than that. They're not fucking you up with codes and security. And all that fucking shit. And all your programmers don't know how to program. And all your computer companies and internet companies, and all your technology companies, software companies, trying to compete for the piece of the pie, and they're all losing it all. But they get it back in spades. Buy them 5 times, get them out of the way, because a new day. Hey, oh, I'm talking to my boat. My boat was talking to me. Sorry, I forgot. Change there. We gotta charge.
Had this video not existed, that said, the video does not answer all the questions that
I'm not sure what I'm going to do now.
Why Mr. Scott ran.
Oh, yes, I know.
And who his passenger was. There's also this, another angle to the shooting scene, aftermath, caught on the dash cam of another
I'll leave you on like
squad
this.
car. It's a very brief
Because that's
glimpse.
the best way to take you around to the
Observe
different places I'm going for now.
Standing over something, we don't know precisely what.
Give me a link.
Joins us now from North
You'll see my perspective on
He's
things.
been investigating
I don't know.
the passenger in the
I don't
car
know
with
if
Walter
that's
Scott.
perspective of anything. What is that thing?
This
Jesus.
passenger is so key to the investigation because, just as you pointed out, he is the one seated right beside Walter Scott just before the van takes off and runs.
Okay.
So, he would know
So
possibly
first thing is
what Scott was thinking,
empty
what he was
thingy-majiggy.
fearful of. The
So,
authorities, and I'm talking
fill
about
it with
state authorities,
thingy-jiggy.
they apparently have announced that they interviewed that mystery passenger today.
I've already eaten today, so this isn't really bad. I mean, it's... But if you're Muslim, that's already just pouring it is bad. Oh no, if you're alcoholic, that's just pouring it is bad. I don't know. For some people, they shouldn't be pouring it. Definitely, there are people that are alcoholics. I don't know if we can cure the disease entirely from the source, but I think we can cure the freaking world a little bit. We might cure the alcoholics a lot. And if we teach alcoholics, it's much more fun to party when we had no drinks, or only 1 or 2, and then they wouldn't be alcoholics if they could only have 1 or 2, or 3 or 4, or whatever it is. This is right amount for the person. I'm big, so I think I can have more than a little girl.
Perhaps planting something nearby him. I understand you have
Not
some
to
information
pontificate
on
here.
Officer
What
Slater
is
today,
that?
and also on Walter Scott the day before he died.
Yeah, a couple of interesting things.
Okay, what do we have in here? We can handle that at night. Pretty trashy. But we got it ready for some stuff. We can organize some stuff.
Law enforcement ends up on the wrong side of the law is potentially a target on the inside of the wall. So he is isolated from the general population. I said, what about a suicide watch? They said, no, we don't really call it that. What they are monitoring is his mental well-being, and guards are circulating past his cell more frequently. As to Scott, it really looked like that life was beginning to turn around for him. He'd been unemployed for a long time, but his supervisors, where he was temporarily working, said, hey, we liked him, and it looked like he possibly was going to get a permanent job. On top of that, he gets this new car. Not new, but new to him. And in fact, the supervisor said he showed up with it last Friday. He was proud of it. He gave people a ride. But, you know, you get the sense that, yeah, life was finally turning for him. Unfortunately, that was the day before he died.
I want to go back to the dash cam video. Walter Scott actually opens his door and gets out holding up something in his right hand for the officer before being told by Officer Slager to get back into his car. Do we know what that was?
We got to codify ourselves on those cigarettes.
Yeah, that struck me too. I looked at it and said, what is going on here? It appears, and I talked to the attorneys, and they believe that what is happening is that he found something the officer had requested. The officer had already retreated back to his car, so like any of us, we might be nervous. We go, oh, I forgot it. And he seems to get out of the car, hold it up, and say, like, I've got it. But the officer shouts and says, get back in the car. You want to know because a few seconds later, he bolts and runs. And it all goes back to why. Now, as you say, maybe it doesn't matter in the full extent. It matters to the family to understand why.
They obviously want to know all the details as they can. Martin Savage, thank you. Well, joining us now, attorney and former South Carolina State Representative Bakari Sellers, also CNN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney Mark Garagos, and former NYPD detective Harry HAQQ. Mark, let me start with you. You're a defense attorney. If, from the defense standpoint in this case, the defense of this police officer, does what happened in that vehicle with the stop, does any of that matter? Or is all that really matters, frankly, for both sides, prosecution and defense, what happened from the time the taser was fired to the time the Mr. Scott was shot and killed?
Well, all that really should matter is what happened between the time that the taser was fired and when he was executed. But I would imagine that his lawyer will attempt to say that between the time that there was the video running on the stop, on the dash cam video, and the time when the person who was a percipient witness filmed it, that something else transpired. They'll do usually what cops do. They'll just create some kind of false scenario and create a diversion, so to speak, in order to try to divert the jury's attention from what really happened here, which was basically an assassination.
Harry, in looking at the dash cam video, as a police officer, you actually said that Slager shouldn't have even run after Mr. Scott.
Right, exactly. When you pull a car like that over and there's two people in the car and one man runs out, you don't chase that man because that second person can come out and put a bullet in your back. Now, this officer didn't know what he had at the time. So what I would have done, and most officers should have done, especially if they're by themselves, is to let that guy run, all right, and take care of the guy on the passenger side of that vehicle, get him out of the vehicle. I would probably went out with my gun drawn also because it's a very suspicious thing that's going on right here. Pull him out of the car, identify him, and then find out what kind of conversation did they have before the other guy ran out. Where you coming from? I'm calling for a backup. We got a second guy that's fleeing.
So you would call for backup and let them know that there's a guy on the run.
Exactly.
Bakari, I want to ask you about the grand jury process. How does it work? I mean, is it possible that Officer Slager might not be indicted?
Well, it is possible, Anderson, but that is a very rare and unlikely scenario to play out. Here in South Carolina, after he's charged by the solicitor then does have to take this charge in front of a grand jury. And usually that just means that the arresting officer sits in front of those 12 grand jurors, and they will have to either give it a no bill or bring it forward. And we truly believe that it's going to move forward. But I must also say that this journey for justice is still a long way from being over. In South Carolina, we have officers who have been arrested, but we haven't had any officers that have been convicted. So here in this community, we're very excited about this quest for justice, but we also understand that it's not over.
Well, Bakari, let's drill down on that a little bit because, you know, when I was there the other day, the state newspaper did an analysis of over the last 5 years, there were more than 200, I think it might have been 206, discharges of weapons by police officers in South Carolina. Not a single one of them, there were some indictments against some officers, but there was never any conviction, as you just said. What does that tell you? I mean, if that's a problem, what needs to change, and how should it change?
Well, you know, that's what I tell most people when they come down to South Carolina and throughout the country. This is not an isolated incident. In fact, in North Augusta, we just had another officer arrested this week for a murder of an African-American male last year. 7 months ago, we actually had an officer pull his weapon out when a young man was reaching for his wallet and shot at him 6 times, hitting him once. It dates back to 1968. When my father was actually shot along with 27 others, and 3 were killed by South Carolina state troopers in the Orangeburg massacre. Here in South Carolina, we're used to African-American males' blood running through the soil of this great state. And this has to stop. And so we're not jaded, and we don't have the low bar for justice and just say that an arrest or an officer losing his job is what we're here for. Our quest is a conviction, and we have to do everything we can to get that, because in South Carolina right now, officers must have some really good attorneys because we haven't been convicted one time.
So, Bakari, are you saying that the review process? I mean, you know, we're not talking about this case. We're talking about the bigger picture here. That there needs to be sort of an independent review process. Is that one step you'd like to see?
There has to be an individual or independent review process. Not only do there have to be body cameras so we know what goes on, it protects the individuals and it protects the officers, but there has to be this independent review process. You stated it earlier, and one of the other facts that you have to state is that in the usage of deadly force in South Carolina, 70 of those individuals were African Americans. And again, we've actually had 5 that were arrested, 5 that were indicted, and we haven't had a single one that was convicted. So I know the country is excited. I know people are excited that there was an arrest. I know they say the mayor moved quickly by charging them and the solicitor moved quickly by charging them. But we are so far away from the end of this journey. In fact, we're just beginning.
And Mark, is that partly because juries, more often than not, give the benefit of the doubt to the police officer?
Well, first of all, the system